Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Thank you to everyone who jumped on the watch alongs yesterday. Both of them was fairly breezy in the length of time I stayed on there. So I did manage to have some energy for everyone. The second one was a little bit haphazard because I didn't really plan it out. And then obviously Bam and Cafu was on the same time as Fundora and Zoo, the rematch. So I was kind of splitting my time between those. But yeah, I appreciate everyone who managed to hang in with me. I know a few of you had to dip out early. I don't blame you. Also, thank you to those who tuned into Fight Talk Live this morning at a very, very early time. That was due to some scheduling issues with October. But shout out, we got it done. It was an enjoyable episode. And yeah, we look forward to the next one, which I think should be next week. With that being said, let's talk through the weekend. Now, full disclosure, I've only seen main events and co-mains of pretty much all the shows. All right, so with the exception of Serenko and Dacus, where I saw the last 3 rounds, and then I saw about 6 or 7 rounds of Lapin and Edmondson. I haven't seen anything else from that card. So I can only talk about the fights that I did see, and that's pretty much the same with the BAM card and also the Pacquiao card, which I was actually having trouble watching because my Amazon was set to a different country. I've got 2 separate accounts, and somehow it switched over to the other one and wouldn't switch back. So yeah, long story, but I managed to get in just at the end of the Usyk Cruz fight. So again, don't know what happened there. We're doing main events and co-mains only. Shout out to Solomon Dacus, obviously beat Vaslav Serenko. I was expecting Serenko to win that fight, especially on short notice, but Dacus took the fight for a reason. Haven't seen all of it, but from what I have seen, it was like he was styling on Serenko, so I don't know what actually happened on that. No comment, but it's he's been signed to Queensberry for like the last 2 and a bit years, and that's the first actual fight he's had under the promotional banner, and he gets beat against someone that Queensberry definitely weren't trying to push. So that in itself is interesting, but I guess now Serenko just moves into the rest of pack with the Joe Joyces and I guess Solomon Dacus, David Adelaide, and everyone else sort of in that ilk. So I guess we wait and see what happens with the rest of them. Lapin and Lewinson, yeah, the less said about that, the better. It was a very messy fight from what I saw. There was no round that was really action-packed or even showed me sort of technical nous. The whole thing was literally just scrappy, just messy. The styles didn't gel. It was just not a good fight to watch. So we're going to move on from that to, unfortunately, another fight where the styles didn't gel and it just wasn't a good fight to watch. Lawrence Okolie and Kevin Lerena. Lawrence Okolie did well to maximize, I guess, all of his attributes in terms of the height, the length, the fact that he was able to sort of keep Lerena at range for the most part. It was also one of those fights where, unfortunately, we did get Lawrence hug Coley again. There was the hugging and the clinching, not just by him. He didn't initiate all of it, and we're not going to blame him wholeheartedly. But a lot of it was started by him, especially in the early half of the fight. In the second half, it was more Kevin Lerena, to be fair. But it just made for a fight which was very low output, very low action again. Apparently, Okolie tore his bicep or hurt his bicep in the first round or something like that. I don't know if it's true or not. If he did, then obviously I hope he recovers well, and maybe that explains away a bit of the performance, but ultimately it's another bad Lawrence Okolie performance, and there's only so many of those you're going to get. So with this interim title, he needs to be careful, because if he keeps having these stinker performances, they're just going to throw him in there with like one of the most dangerous guys in the division. And if he wins that, then cool, he's earned his spot. But chances are they're going to be throwing him in there to lose that position. He also came in too heavy again, 262 pounds. That is too heavy for his. I know he's been heavier than that in the past in terms of like just natural walking around, but that is not the right weight for him to be functioning at heavyweight. He's losing all of the natural attributes he had from cruiser, which is what sort of made him such an effective operator to be able to move up. Sure, you might get some extra punch absorption on the chin, maybe the temple, maybe you can absorb body shots a bit better, but the conditioning is not good. He was languishing in the fight after like 5-6 rounds. His mouth was open pretty much from, I think, round 4. And initially on the scales, he didn't look terrible aesthetically, but walking into the ring again, that uncle belly is back. Now, granted, it isn't as bad as it was on that very first time, but he even said to the people, at 265 pounds is too heavy. Like, I'm gonna shave some of that off and come in closer to like the 240s. Okay, so what happened? If you're not living the life, you're not going to progress past a certain level. I know he's got a lot of other interests and stuff that he's invested in. He's got a lot of other businesses going on and whatnot. But Alexander Usyk is the prime example here. You stay in shape, you stay working year round, and not just when you're in a camp. Because you cutting those corners or not taking the discipline seriously is going to show when you least need it to. Now, thus far, you've been matched with very favourable opposition, but that's not going to last for very long. So, to give yourself the best possible chance of progressing with that silver WBC title you've got into that #1 spot, into that world title shot, and potentially gaining another world title, you're going to have to take it more seriously, and that starts with the strength and conditioning and just the general conditioning itself. Now, Kevin Lerena, he's a perennial second up. I've kind of said that about him from he was in the cruiserweight division. He's always a guy that he always does just enough to make you wonder what if he threw his hands more. And the thing is, that cruiserweight, because he had less size on him, he was able to work a little bit more. As soon as he bulked up to go to heavyweight initially, you can just see that the work rate dropped. Everything of him is about trying to manage his caseload, if you want to put it like that. And it's about landing 1 or 2 big shots and hoping that's enough to get the opponent out of there. Now, okay, you might have a good shot. You might hurt and wobble them, like you did with Justice Hooney, like you did with Daniel Dubois. But the more I'm seeing it now, whereas before I swore up and down that the fight with Daniel Dubois was rigged. It was like a setup, almost like he was told not to throw any more punches in that second round to allow Daniel back into the fight. But every fight I've seen since then, the Riyad Mary fight, the like I said, the Justice Hooney fight, now this fight, every time I'm seeing him, it's just he's just not doing enough. He's like, it's almost like he's just happy to say, oh, I nearly did it. If I'd just thrown a little bit more. It's almost like he doesn't want to throw extra, because if he throws more and loses, then he's got no excuses in his head to be able to rationalize how he lost. That's how it's coming across to me. And I don't want to say that about Kevin Lerena. Like, I think he's serviceable. I think he's of a certain level, but he's either got to work on his conditioning, his punch output, or his killer instinct, like, or maybe all three. But yeah, it was highly frustrating, and he fell into a Cody's trap and allowed him to, get mauled and leaned on and hugged all night. But also, he did the same thing when those body shots started to start taking effect in the second half of the fight. Now, I get it, the body shots hurt, I understand that, but you're clinching, and what makes it worse is when you're clinching, Lawrence is still having the better of that because he's bigger, taller, leaning on you, and he's used to clinching, hitting and holding with one hand. So all the clinches that Lerena initiated, apart from in round, I think 9, they all did not benefit him. So it was just like a wasted effort. But yeah, that's not a fight I'll be going back to watch again. I just hope that both guys come correct, tune up and fix up for their next fights, because otherwise it could be a long road back to mainstream for both. Now, main event, Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois. I told you lot that it wouldn't, I didn't even think it would be competitive. Not majorly anyway. I said that Usyk, Daniel is going to, I feel like he's going to have to try to commit earlier, but if he commits early, he's going to get knocked out earlier. I predicted he'd get knocked out earlier. I said it would be inside the 7th. And, you know, Alexander Usyk did it 2 rounds better. I didn't give Dubois a round. The first round where he was somewhat competitive, again, Usyk landed the clean. Usyk landed a power jab, a up power jab onto Dubois, I think inside the first 10 to 15 seconds of the round. As soon as that happened on the stream, I was like, oh, this is going to be a long night for Daniel. And then in that first round, I think he landed like 6 or 7 power jabs, and Dubois just had no answer for them. Round 2, big Usyk round again. Hurt and wobbled Daniel Dubois' legs, but allowed him to just back off, because Dubois did the same movement that he did in the Joshua fight, and maybe Usyk thought, okay, you're not quite ready to go yet. Let's carry on. Let's do this dance. Round 3, Dubois had a bit more success. It was a little success, but it still wasn't enough for me to give him the round. I had it 3-0. I know Carl Frampton gave it to Daniel Dubois. I've seen a couple other people try to find it to give to Daniel Dubois. I think Nick Pete did as well from Fight Disciples, for whatever that's worth. Round 4, again, it's a big Usyk round. Dubois threw one borderline-ish shot. Usyk tapped the belt and said, all right, cool, let's go. But Usyk basically started holding his feet from the end of the 3rd round. Round 4 was walking Dubois down behind high guard, behind the shots, front hand, backhand, lead parries, lead hooks, stabs to the body. Dubois just didn't really have no answer for it. Then in round 5, Dubois actually comes out moving a bit better, but you can see that he's clearly tired. He's been gassing since like round 3. You can see him been slowing down, but he tries to go into exchange with Usyk, backs him up into the corner. Usyk's basically on some roper dope on the corner, except he's not allowing Dubois to hit him in the roper dope. He's bobbing and weaving outside of the shots to the point where he landed a straight left with the backhand, pivots off to the side and follows it up with a counter right hook to the side of the temple, which forces Dubois down to the canvas. Now, whether that shot was initially heavy enough to do so, up for debate. But Daniel fell, looked at the corner, nodded at the corner, and then got up, I think 7 or 8. Referee asked him, you want to go? He said yes, wiped off the hands. Next thing you know, Usyk comes back in. I think he throws the lead jab hand, the right hand, straight over, which buckles Dubois forward a bit, and Dubois motioning like he's trying to get a shot off. Usyk goes to throw a right hook, and Daniel goes to throw his right hand as well, and Usyk's already just backing out of the way, and it brushes past his shoulder. Big arching, as he calls it, the Ivan punch, looping shot from the back of the arena all the way onto Daniel's chin, just round the side of the guard, because he did have his arm up, but it was just a bit too far in front. Bang, smack on the chin. Daniel's legs give out on him, and he falls in slow motion. That's the best way to put it. And you can just see him just dazed on the floor, looking up, and then eventually he looks to his corner, and the referee's at 7, and as he sort of gets to, like, sort of sits up at this point fully. It's almost like he takes a big deep breath and then goes to get up. But by the time he gets up, it's too late. Now, a lot of people have said, did he make a decision? Did he quit again? Did he choose not to make the count? My opinion is he actually, on this occasion, he didn't. I've looked at it on 3 separate occasions here, and when he's down, like laying on the canvas trying to get his composure initially, the ref, I think, is at 6 turning to 7 on the count, and at that point I just think Daniel just doesn't fully have his senses with him at that precise moment. A bit like when Joe Joyce got knocked out in the second fight by Zhang. Like, he manages to get up to his feet just after the 8 count, but it's after the mandatory 8, which they normally waive it off over here in the UK. I think Daniel ultimately, whereas before I've literally seen him stay on the ground until it reaches 10, he was getting up onto his feet at 8, but you know, clearly with the rules and how long it took him to get onto his feet from sort of 8, 9 and onwards, he got counted out. So on this particular occasion, I think he beats the allegations of, choosing to sit it out, choosing to quit. I just think he had the fight beat out of him. He was exhausted, and I feel like he was just a little bit spacey in that precise moment. But Alexander Usyk, 3 times undisputed, once at cruiserweight, twice at heavyweight. Frankly, he's the best of this generation. He's the best of this era. He's arguably the best of the last 25 years. There's arguments to say he's a top 10 of all time in terms of boxing. Some people are saying the top 5 heavyweight of all time, which isn't a crazy shout, but I'm not enough of a historian to be able to make that declaration. But the run's impressive. 24-0, 15 KOs. Won every single belt from an active champion. Has never fought for a vacant belt in his entire career. Done pretty much all of it on the road in other people's backyards. There's just not enough superlatives to talk about how great of an athlete, of a fighter, of a boxer, and I guess just of a man in general Alexander Usyk is, and all the plaudits go to him. It's no surprise a Capricorn doing Capricorn things. It's amazing to see. We love it. We enjoy it very much. Now everyone's talking about what he does next. Quite frankly, same as October Red said earlier, he's got the right to do whatever he wants, and I second that. But I would like, if he does continue and wants to continue on and wants to hold the belts, I would like to see him take on all of the mandatory challenges. That would be nice. Joseph Parker, I believe, is first up. After Joseph Parker, it would be Derek Chisora with the IBF. After the IBF, it's the WBC, and the WBA is last up because they're still trying to sort out who the regular champion is. The regular championship is currently held by Kubrat Pulev, who's supposed to be facing Michael Hunter, and Michael Hunter's supposed to then fight for that. And then obviously Fabio Wardley holds the interim version of the regular heavyweight title. So the winner of that fight is then supposed to fight Fabio Wardley for the full regular belt to then become the mandatory challenger for Alexander Usyk under consolidation rules of the belt. But all of that being said, look, like I said, Usyk's going to do what he's going to do. And if he decides that he wants to have just fun fights for big money, I'm all for it. But dash the belts. You don't need to hold on to them and hold up the rest of the division. To be honest, I think he's too much of an honorable person and respectful of the game and the code. I feel like he would give up all the belts, but just keep the Ring Magazine one and that undisputed title that he got from Turkey Al Sheikh. So he could just carry that title, stating that, look, you guys may have those belts, but I'm still undisputed. Nobody's beat me in the ring. I am the Ring Magazine champion. I'm the undisputed champion. You guys are just placeholders at this table. That's how I would look to kind of frame it. But big congrats to Alexander Usyk. Again, whatever he does, he deserves to do whatever he does next. Shout out to him and the family and everyone else. Now, moving over to the Matchroom card taking place in where was it? It was in Texas. I can't remember which city it was in. But I didn't see the undercard. I saw the Omari Jones fight this morning, actually, or parts of it. 3rd round stoppage, which looked quite impressive. I think he was only like one of 4 people or 5 people that have stopped the journeyman he had. And obviously that guy's had over like, I think he's had over 40 fights. And he's only been stopped like 3 or 4 times, and Omari Jones just added himself to that list. So he's moving along nicely. I didn't see any of the prelim stuff, so I haven't had a chance to see like Nishant Dev or any of the other guys on there yet. So again, that's something we might have to talk about maybe in the casual stream. But yeah, look, overall it was I saw half of the Macombi and Pacheco fight, which was fairly, it was entertaining from what I saw. Macombi got pulled out, I think, in the 10th round. I'm not sure if it was due to the cut that he had or if it was for other reasons. I was doing some other stuff that time of the night, so I really can't remember what was going on in that fight. Then it was Bam and Cafu, but at the same time as that fight was taking place, Sebastian Fundora and Tim Tszyu 2 was also taking place on PBC on Prime. So I was kind of flitting between the two. What I will say is Bam was very good. He invested a lot of work to the body of Cafu. Cafu also in kind did the same. I feel like Cafu was trying to land one clean shot on Bam throughout the rounds rather than actually trying to fully win the rounds, because he was tucking up and staying sort of in the corner rather than sort of trying to push Bam back or trying to move around the target. Maybe he thought Bam was too quick and Bam's got the pivot, so at least if I stay in the corner I can see everywhere that he's going. There's no way that he can't come on any of my blind sides because there's no space for him to do that. Maybe that was the game plan, but ultimately it just kind of looked like you were kind of just getting pushed there and you couldn't get out of the corner. Now, like I said, he did some very good work, and I believe I gave him one of the rounds, possibly two, up until the 10th, but he was just being outworked for a lot of it. And then when he started to slow down a bit, the guard became a bit looser. The 10th round, he got caught with, I think it was a nasty right hook, which basically buckled the legs. He was wobbly, went back, but he managed to evade a bunch of the other shots. Then eventually held on to Bam. So the ref was actually going to jump in a bit prematurely, but he managed to stop himself. Held on to Bam, they both fell over, and as he's getting up, a member of his team, a female from the team, jumped up on the apron waving the towel. He turned around, he was visibly distressed and upset at have the fight being stopped and him losing his IBF belt. But yeah, Bam is just a special guy. I need to watch that fight back in its entirety undistracted, because I feel like it does deserve that level of attention. But look, he's broken the next fight curse, and he will be in Riyadh on the 22nd of November to take on Puma Martinez. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that fight. Then we got Sebastian Fundora versus Tim Tszyu 2. Now, I picked Tim Tszyu to win this fight. I thought that based on the way that the first fight happened and those first 2 rounds, where Tim Tszyu was basically lighting Fundora up, busted and broke up his nose and all sorts, just, sort of turned him into a bloody mess before the elbow clash, which basically changed the entire tide of the fight. I just thought Tim Tszyu does that. It just stays a bit more composed, a bit more consistent throughout. But oh my, that was not what happened. I mean, getting dropped in the first round is something that we weren't expecting. But we also weren't expecting Sebastian Fundora to actually do something that he should have been doing from years ago, and that's actually make good use of his height and his reach advantage. He was throwing out the jab from distance, from long range, and he was stepping behind it, trying to throw sort of straight lefts from that southpaw stance. It was just, he managed to keep and resort Tszyu to nothing but basically trying to pot shot here and there. But Tszyu just getting outworked, just getting hit left to right, up, down. It literally, as I was saying, it looked like when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was taking on Bruce Lee in the House of Death film, just before Bruce Lee died, when they had to sort of get in the double to try and do the rest of his scenes where his face wasn't visible. But it looked like that with just the stretchy arms. He looked like Dao Sim and E Honda from Street Fighter combined into one in that fight, because all you saw was limbs just like the right limb, then the left limb, then the right's back again, the left's back. It was just non-stop in the face, and Zoo just didn't know how to deal with it. Now he managed to land a couple of really good shots, a left cross, a right cross, a big overhand right, and Sebastian Fundora ate every shot that he threw out and just carried on letting those long limbs go. And it just felt like one of those moments where Zoo was like, what else can I do? Like, I'm stuck. And at this point, at the end of the 7th round, going into the 8th, he stays on his stall. And that's not, we don't know if he officially told the team, I'm done, I can't carry on, or the team decided that, look, you threw your best shots at this guy and he's still going. You're down on the cards. I don't know what else you can do. We're going to save you for another day. Obviously, one of those is probably better than the other from a mental standpoint for him, but also from an optics point of view with all of us, as to whether or not he capitulated and decided he didn't want no more. But Sebastian Fundora, it looks like he's finally let everything click. I'm 6'6". I do not need to be getting involved in the trenches, in trench warfare with you guys. I'm going to stay to the outside, pepper you with the jab, land my backhand straight on your chin, knock you out cold, or knock you down at least, and just, stay on the outside and not give you an opportunity to get any lick backs. And I think that's ultimately, if he can continue to make the 154 weight, because I can't lie, I see him moving up to 160 pretty soon. He says he makes it easy. Him and and Gabriella have got these mad genetics where they just seem to just be long and thin for no reason. But I can see him filling out to that 160 and even 168 somewhere down the line if he stays in boxing for that much longer. But look, I got to congratulate Sebastian Fundora, because I did not think he would do what he done in that fight, but he really impressed me with how he sort of showed up and showed out. In terms of Tim Tszyu, he unfortunately is right now just a cautionary tale of being too brave for your own good, being too much of a warrior for your own good, especially when it doesn't benefit you. All now, I still feel like they played him at PBC for that Fundora shot. I have a feeling that Fundora was always lined up to face him, and the pullout from Keith Thurman was always going to happen, and it was done to unsettle Tszyu, because obviously he's from Australia. He's not American. He had the promotional agreement with the PBC, but he wasn't one of their stars. He wanted to dethrone their stars. I just feel like they was trying to put roadblocks in front of him, and ultimately they managed to do that. So commiserations. He looks like he's firmly going to be set into that gatekeeper high level journeyman status now if he carries on. Hoping he can maybe turn it around a bit, but he's gonna need a lot of work rebuilding, I think, at this point in time. But yeah, unlucky. Main event: Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios, and obviously Pacquiao got to ring walk second. Everything. Barrios, even being the champion, got none of the champion's advantages in this fight. Now, first things first. One of two things, and I said this on Fight Talk Live earlier. Either Mario Barrios is the worst champion in boxing right now, even worse than Rolly Romero, or that entire fight was scripted, and it was almost like there was a non-verbal, maybe even a non-written agreement that Mario Barrios would not go for the kill. He wouldn't try to take Pacquiao's head off, because there were many times in this fight where Pacquiao is actually dictating to Barrios what next. No, don't throw the punches there. Break. Okay, get let's go again. It just looked a lot like Manny was just telling him what to do, and he was basically doing it. There were certain times where Pacquiao was in range, almost with his hands down, and Barrios is not shooting the shots. He's not throwing the counters. Like, it was just weird. He looked very stationary, very static. Now, yeah, Manny might have had a bit more speed than him, but you're supposed to be the younger, fitter guy. Use your work rate. Like, beat him on the work rate. And I just don't think there was enough of it. Ultimately, I don't remember which round I gave to who, but I know I scored the fight 115, 113 to Manny Pacquiao. But there were a couple close swing rounds in there, so if anyone had it the other way, I can't really argue. One of the judges had it for Barrios, 115, 113, but then the other two judges ruled a majority decision draw. So Barrios keeps his belt, and Manny Pacquiao keeps his return 0. Hasn't lost since his return. And I don't know if they had any other plans that they were looking for. They say sometimes the best laid plans never go how you want them to. But Pacquiao, look, the punch resistance didn't really look there. He had moments where he looked like he had some speed, but his shots, none of his shots, especially after like round 4, looked like they had any snap on them. Barrios looked like he had a bit more in the gas tank, a bit more about him in terms of when he would let a shot go on the inside, or when he double up the jab or whatnot. It looked like Manny was very uncomfortable in every time that happened, but it just didn't happen enough. So yeah, look, it's a draw. Barrios said that he would be happy to run it back. I don't know if Manny Pacquiao is feeling the same way, but if they do, I mean, I would watch it again, because neither guy can do any worse than they did last time. And I think Barrios would be due a good performance after, after what he made the people suffer through, especially those of us who had to be up till sort of 5:30 in the morning covering the show. But look, there you have it. I don't know what Manny does next. The most common sense would be to do the rematch, but you never know. Barrios is booty cheeks, and yeah, I guess that's all I got to say about that. So look, please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much, everyone, if you've made it this far. It's appreciated. Yeah, I'll be back during the week with some more lives, more content. We'll see what we get on to, and yeah, we'll leave it there. But for right now, it's the weekend wrapped up. So enjoy the rest of your night, and until the next one, peace.